Hey guys, it's Jason. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to do a little something different. I want to talk about some of the best players, but a little twist to it. So generally, the best players of all time in Major League Baseball have been high draft picks at the highest level. Maybe some mid-draft picks as well, or top international signings from Japan or Cuba, Dominican Republic, and other places. But today I want to go over the best undrafted MLB players in history by position. Okay, these guys were not drafted. They weren't high draft picks, and I'll give you an exception. There's an exception, but he was drafted, but he was one of the lowest picks in the draft. Mike Piazza, he turned into a Hall of Fame catcher, obviously, and had a heck of a career. So he was the standout player in my eyes, who was the low draft pick. But these guys right here are going to be they're going to be undrafted players who turned out to have good careers and some fantastic careers. So with that, let's start with catcher. Mike Redmond. He was actually he was a high school stud. He was a pretty good player in college, too. He was an all-Pac, 2 times all-Pac-10 player, and wound up getting undrafted. And then eventually he was signed by a scout in the Florida Marlins. He signed them for a minimal bonus, I should say, and he wound up having almost a decade-long career as a player. And it just goes to show you that some of these guys that keep grinding, they'll break through. And he played an integral part in the Marlins breaking the hearts of Yankee fans in 2003 when they beat the Yankees in the World Series. I remember that. He played an integral part on that team. After his career, he wound up managing the Marlins for, I think, 2 years or maybe 3. And then last I heard of him, and I don't know if he's still there, but bench coach. He's been bench coach for the Colorado Rockies. So that's Mike Redmond. Let's go to first base. This guy, he was a Boston Red Sox player. He played some other teams as well, but he also played a part of breaking the Yankees fans' hearts as well. Now he's a commentator on MLB Network, which actually I really enjoy listening to him and watching him. He's a funny guy, Kevin Millar. He was a college stud at Lamar College, which I think is in Texas, and he wound up being undrafted as well. So he went to play independent ball and for the St. Paul Saints. This is my research book, by the way. And while he was down there, he kept playing really well. A Florida scout basically signed him on the spot, and he gave him a shot at Class A ball. He worked his way up, and the rest is baseball history. He was part of the 2004 World Series championship with the Red Sox. I'm not sure if he was one of the later ones as well, but he was at the very least part of that breaking the curse team. So that's first base. Second base. Frank White. I don't know if you remember him. Some of these names are familiar, some of them might not be. Frank White was a community college player and didn't go D1 or big time D1, but he was a standout player. I remember him. He was known for having a flawless, like Ozzie Smith-like glove at second base, and he actually made the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame as an undrafted player. That's a heck of an accomplishment. He got a call from the Royals Academy, which is a developmental program. And 3 years later, he wound up making it to the bigs and staying there for, I don't know, at least over a decade, I think. And he also was an integral part in helping the Kansas City Royals win the 1985 World Series. So that's second base. Shortstop. This guy's one of the most fiery managers in baseball and coaches, Larry Bowa. He was also undrafted. He played for Sacramento City College. He was known as a great defender. I kind of like Frank White. But he went undrafted in 1965, but he did play almost 2 decades. I think at least 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. He was a 5-time All-Star. He won 2 Gold Gloves, and then he became a very well-known and respected manager across the league and coach. Third baseman, this guy, Bobby Bonilla. Surprisingly enough, he was not drafted. He was teammates with Barry Bonds, and then he went to the Mets, and this guy's still being paid right now after being retired for, I think, over a decade. He was not drafted in the 1981 draft, but then he actually went to New York Institute of Technology to study, I think, computer science or engineering or something like that. And out of the blue, he wound up going to a baseball kind of clinic or camp in Europe. Somebody loved him. Pittsburgh, actually. A scout from Pittsburgh loved him, signed him on the spot, and then wound up making the leagues and playing for quite some time and making a heck of a lot of money. Left field. This guy made one of the most historic catches I remember him, Kevin Mitchell, in the outfield. I'm going to put the catch. I'm going to put a clip of it in the description down below. I'll put some other videos too. But you got to see this catch. You got to take a look at that. It's pretty remarkable. And he was also undrafted, and he actually played football and did a lot of wrestling in high school. Didn't really transition over to baseball until later on. But again, he impressed scouts with his bat. He was a really good hitter, and he actually became the 1989 MVP with the San Francisco Giants. And again, like I said, he made one of the most ridiculous catches you'll ever see from an outfielder. And it'll be in the description down below, so don't miss it. Okay. Center field, Dan Gladden. And I remember this guy too. He was Minnesota Twins. He was a stud in high school, star in JUCO or junior college, and he actually was a star at the Division I level as well. But he went undrafted, he was actually really, really persistent. He basically made coaches and scouts and people notice him after he kept plugging away, kind of like Rudy Rudiger in the movie. Rudy just kept plugging away and making sure that people noticed him. And that's that type of grit and consistency that really, makes people love you. And he did exactly that. And he wound up, getting fourth place in the Rookie of the Year voting once he got up to the majors, and he became a public hero as well. He had this hit in the 1991 World Series when he was with the Minnesota Twins, and they won the World Series that year against the Atlanta Braves. He hit a hit in the 10th inning, and his hustle. I'll actually put that down below as well so you can see it. His hustle basically helped win that game, and that was Game 7. Pretty impressive. Right fielder. This is one of 2 players that I know of that were undrafted and became Hall of Famers. Pretty remarkable feat. He was drafted, but he was drafted in the NHL, not in the MLB. He was a Canadian player, Larry Walker, and he's actually going to go into the Hall of Fame with Derek Jeter at some point. He caught the eye of a scout in Canada, and I think Saskatchewan, I think it's called, and he signed him, and the rest is MLB history. Hall of Fame player, ridiculous bat, hell of a player, hell of a fun guy to be around. Larry Walker. Number 1 of 2. Starting pitcher, Mr. Danny Darwin. This guy's actually known as being a feisty guy, and he got into quite a few bench clearing brawls. I remember one where he hit Henry Rodriguez, who was with, I think, the Expos at the time. That was pretty epic. He was a community college player, and the Texas Rangers actually gave him a $37,500 signing bonus after he wasn't drafted in 1976. And he wound up winning 171 games, had a pretty good career, 3.84 ERA. That's a pretty solid ERA for almost 2 decades. I actually did play 2 decades, 21 seasons. Like I said, he's a notorious guy on the mound, especially fighting guys. Not afraid to hit batters or pitch close. And last but not least, a relief pitcher, the second of 2 players who went undrafted and became a Hall of Famer, Bruce Sutter. He actually played independent ball. And he was signed by the Chicago Cubs for $500. Talk about a return on investment. My goodness. Okay. And again, there was a coach, I don't remember who it was, but he had Suter try a different grip because he was kind of meddling around the middle and mediocre. And that grip changed everything and became his splitter, which became his signature legendary pitch that helped get him into the Hall of Fame. And he wound up having 300 saves as well. So, second Hall of Famer, undrafted player. So, that's my list by position. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're a baseball fan, please hit that subscribe button. And please hit the notification next to it. I promise you'll like these videos. And I'll put a bunch of other videos down below for your enjoyment as well. In the meantime, be safe out there. Look out for each other. And I will talk to you next time.